Land back.
Land back. Good morning, everyone. It's our last book trap with me and Chief Anye.
No, you sad to see us go.
Yes. It's okay to cry. It's okay to cry. You're going to miss us. We're going to miss you. But it's our last one. So please, when you're coming in, make sure to share. It's the people's last chance to hear me and Anye talk about Ho Chi Minh. You don't want to miss it. You do not want to miss it. It's going to be a really good one. So as you're coming in the room, remember to share. Share to all those Facebook groups. Share at least 30 times. 40. Make it 40. It's the last one. Make it 40. Yes. Share it to all of them. I don't think Facebook has a limit on how many groups you can join. Share it in all of them. Share with your friends. Share with your family. Share with your little cousins. Your pets. They can tune in too. There's a place for them in the revolution. Good morning, Chrysanthemum. Good morning, Shagun. Yes, it's a perfect thing to wake up to on a Sunday morning. So send it to people. They can watch it from bed if they just woke up. That works too. Remember to share.
Right, very little effort on their part. They just gotta open Facebook.
Yes, open Facebook. We're also on YouTube. You can watch it on there as well. Land back, Moxley. This is the book we're talking about, as you see on the screen. Ho Chi Minh, Down With Colonialism. We're in the last section. Yes, Oju, share. Who else shared?
No, not just Oju shared.
I know. We just saw like 10 names. So y'all better be sharing. Land back, NWBC. Yes, keep sharing. And if you're done sharing, maybe start pulling up your Cash App, your Venmo. Just start our day with a donation to Hammer City. If you don't know, Anye, tell the people, what is Hammer City?
Hammer City is a city we're building in Colorado with no cops, no rent, no coronavirus, and no white people. And it's going to be a bastion of hope for our colonized people and a place where we can start getting our self-determination and our land back and our resources. So if you want to help build this project to get our people free, or you're a colonizer wanting either us to just go away or help us get free, donate to #BuildHammerCity on Cash App. And yeah, let's get them coins in and share your donations in the chat. Land back.
Yes. Land back, yes. Super easy to find. It's just Build Hammer City everywhere. Cash App, Venmo, GoFundMe. Super easy. And if after y'all are reading this book yesterday, finishing these chapters, and you're inspired by Ho Chi Minh and the Vietnamese Revolution, and you want, self-determination, you want your people to be free, you want to see colonized people thrive, this is your chance to be a part of that by donating to Building Hammer City, so that we as colonized people can be free from colonialism here. We can start building our own self-determination. We can return land back to indigenous people here in Turtle Island. This is your chance to be a part of history. And it's super cheap. Donate $1. We talked about it last week. You got extra coins laying around. Donate those.
Mail them to us.
Mail them to us. Mail them to us. Yeah, save it up. You should save up at least more than the 50 cents it costs to mail something in the mail.
Oh yeah.
But we got a first donation, $5.
$5.
Thank you, Oju.
I know somebody can match that.
Yes, if somebody can match that, it's the end of the month. Oh shoot, I forgot that it's already the end of the month. Some of y'all getting paid in next week. You can pledge. You get paid on the 5th. This is your time to pledge. You got $5.
Make sure you make rent though. Don't spend all your money right now. You can donate later.
Yes, thank you, Chief Savvy. Another 5. Who else? Who else wants to match? Psychopraxis, $5 as well. Thank you so much. Yes. $10. Yes. Federico.
Where's Yabe with the colonizer coins? We need Yabe, bring the reparations in.
$3 from
Three
Kafunson. Thank you so much. Y'all are showing out already. Thank you so much. Y'all saw how sad we were last week because we didn't meet the goal. So
really
this is not going to happen. Y'all are not going to let us be sad because we don't meet our goal for Build Hammer City. We should offer budgeting. Someone said we should offer budgeting services to help people donate. Yes. Yes. This is your investment. This is, you know how the petty bourgeoisie and the bourgeoisie always talks about investment. This is the investment for poor and working class colonized people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got to pay your rent for the month, save $5, donate it to Hammer City. But thank you so much for all the donations so far. We already got quite a few. So yay, I think we're going to meet our goal today. So let's start the show. Today we got another book trap trivia to see if y'all been paying attention. Anye, you can read the question this week.
What year did Ho Chi Minh pass before seeing victory against the Snakes? A. 1962, B. 1964, C. 1969, nice, and D. 1971. Put your answers in the chat. We're gonna see if you've been reading. Land back.
Yes. I mean, it's also really sad that he, passed away before seeing victory against the Snakes.
But he knew it was gonna happen.
He knew it was gonna happen because I think the first U.S. troops withdrew from Vietnam months before he passed away. And he also knew that he had faith, in his people and in his comrades, that the work that he has done for the past decades was enough to set them up for success. Like, he knew that they would be able to win.
I got a C in there. Is that right?
We got a C. Anyone else? Any other guesses? Yes, Comrade Sully. Get those likes up. Get those likes up. It's literally one button. Y'all can do it.
Got another C.
It's because you gave it away, Anye. You said 1969. Nice. I'm just dropping clues.
Unintentionally. Another. I spoiled the answer. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's looking like everybody can see, and that is the answer.
1969. Yes. Great job, everyone, for guessing that correctly. And now we're going to go into our first Read That Back. It's on page 169. 169 of the book. Thank you so much, Chief Savvy. So it starts. Imperialism and feudalism deliberately sought to undermine the solidarity and equality between the nationalities and to sow discord among them and carry out a divide and rule policy. Our party and government have constantly called on the nationality to forget all enmities caused by imperialism and feudalism and to unite closely on the basis of equality in rights and duties. The minority nationality have, side by side with their brothers of the majority nationality, fought against their common enemies and brought the August Revolution and the war of resistance to success. And then I wanted to read the next paragraph. Thank you. Where it says, our nationality's policy is aimed to achieving equality and mutual assistance between the nationalities so as to allow them to advance together to socialism. Autonomous regions may be established in areas where minority nationalities live in dense communities. Land back. I really like this. I really like this passage. It really stood out to me. This was when they were reporting back on their the amended constitution that they wrote after. I think at this point it's already been 15 years since the Democratic Republic of Vietnam was formed, and they were amending their constitution, and the people were really excited about it. In the beginning, they talk about how everyone was reading it, everyone was talking about it, everywhere. People were just really excited about this new constitution, and everyone was participating and giving feedback, and it took months and months for everyone to read it and provide feedback, which was just really inspiring, to think. We already have, we had our first draft of the Hammer City Constitution came out last year, And we went through a similar process, and I think we're going to go through it again, where allowing the people, allowing our members, allowing colonized people to provide feedback about how they see governance work under self-determination. And I particularly picked this quote in there as well because I just think it relates really well to like our principle of unity. Number two, about how all colonized people are equal regardless of age, gender, sexuality, bi, multiracial identity, mental, physical differences, like any of those things. Like we're all equal, and we're always talking about how we all have to unite, right? That colonized unity and unity among all colonized people is the best. It's our tool, right? It's how we're going to win, is by our unity together with each other. And this quote just like it follows our political line so well, because we understand that all the divisionism that colonized people experience is because of colonialism. And I guess that's the difference between our line and theirs, like he said, imperialism and feudalism. But we recognize as Black Hammer that colonialism is where those other things, stem from, like imperialism. So yeah, I really like this quote because also that when people think about countries like Vietnam or China, they think it's like a monolith, right? Like everyone's the same ethnicity, everyone's the same nationality. They're just Vietnamese or like Chinese, without recognizing that there are different nations and ethnicities of people in these countries.
Mm-hmm.
And these are countries that have existed for thousands of years. There's migration that happens. There's like people from different cultures and nations that migrate to the place of Vietnam during the revolution, and guess what? They all united. They were not just all like one people, but they united as one people. And Ho Chi Minh made sure that even people that are so-called minorities, like even if they are a smaller sector of the population, that they still they still had their own self-determination, right? They still have the ability to make the choices and dictatorship over their lives, land, and resources. But what did you think?
Yeah, I unite with that wholeheartedly. Like, I love this read that back because we share that sentiment in that we're uniting people against that common enemy, and we can explain to people that these petty differences don't really matter because at the end of the day, all the problems are stemming from colonialism and all the offsprings of that. And there's so many times, like, I guess just talking to people where they have some type of like ill will towards another colonized group, and all these things can be easily explained away from our like political line, in that like these divisions are manufactured to keep us from taking them out of power. And the fact that, like you said, there's so many, like, people think like these revolutions don't use that same ideology because they look at these countries, especially in Asia, as like monolithic, and like there's no different types of ethnic groups. And then when they do acknowledge that there's other ethnic groups, they try to say that, oh, they're treating them like terribly, like we see the Uyghurs in China. um yeah, and so yeah, I unite with that, the fact that like we share that with Ho Chi Minh and their party, that like once we unite people against this common enemy, we can destroy like we can get rid of all the symptoms of this colonialism. And now I lost my train of thought, but yeah, I just oh, and the fact, like, letting the people decide how they want to overcome that, like overcome colonialism, and not just like leading them blindly into somewhere. We're explaining to them like, okay, here's how you should go about it. Do y'all unite with this, and then you move from there. So I definitely love this read that back. Man back.
Land back. Yeah, like him talking about, divide and rule. Like, when I'm sure under French colonialism, they were trying to divide all these people. And then what? You just fight each other and still, still live under colonialism, and y'all are, directing your anger of all your, terrible conditions on the colonizer, on the French, and instead, instead be fighting with each other. And I think that's why Ho Chi Minh keeps preaching unity, throughout the whole book. Like, it's always about the unity of his people. Like, he's like, that's the best tool we have, is our unity with each other and our ability to organize when we're united as one. Yeah, I really like this read that back. And we actually have quite a few read that back in the comment today. Yay, y'all are already ready. You are already ready with that audience. Read that back. Let's pick. Ooh, there's like 4 in there. Pick one. Andre, you want to read it?
Oh shit. The oppressed peoples of the world saw that only by relying on socialist revolution and following the line of the working class was it possible to overthrow the imperialists, win back complete national independence, and realize genuine equality amongst the nations. The Russian October Revolution welded the socialist revolutionary movement and the revolutionary movement for the national liberation into an anti-imperialist front. In Vietnam, following World War One, the national bourgeois. I don't know if we can keep it going. It cuts off, but I think that's in. Uh, the national bourgeoisie and the petty bourgeoisie were unable to lead a movement for national liberation to success. The Vietnamese working class, in light of the October Revolution, charted the course of the Vietnamese Revolution.
Land back, Comrade Federico, for that quote. And that's a perfect quote, for our principle of unity number 4, right? That like it's the poor and working class colonized people who has to lead this revolution. Like we are the leadership. And as we have seen before, like even Ho Chi Minh is saying in Vietnam, the bourgeoisie and the petty bourgeoisie, weren't saving them, nor were they successful in leading their people to liberation. That it was ultimately, the working class, the peasants of Vietnam, that made this revolution happen.
Right, and
And
we
it,
can, right, we can see in artwork like how this is true. Like artwork is entirely led by poor and working class colonized people, and in 2 years, well, like 2 years and like a couple days, we've grown bigger than like any other like petty boulette organization. We've done more. We've educated more than like any of them, and done more than like even white leftist orgs that have been around since like the '60s in like 2 years. So, and that's just off the pure strength of colonized working class brilliance. So I definitely unite with this.
yes. And also, yeah, like poor working class colonized people have more of that, like the sense of urgency, right? Like their lives depend upon, their liberation, while the bourgeoisie and the petty bourgeoisie are like, comfortable, right? They have some level of comfort. There's less of that urgency to fight for their lives, while like colonized people have nothing to lose. They have everything to gain with revolution and liberation. And as we can see, like why they would be the maker, of history. And there's also like the fact that there's way more of us. There's way more of poor working class colonized people than than bourgeoisie and sellout petty booths. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's so many more of us. So of course that we would be, that we are the ones that would lead our people to success, that we're the ones that would be the maker of history. So thank you so much for that book. That quote from the book. Plan back. Oh, another one. I'll read this one. Page 170. It says, "Loved example of dictatorship of the masses." And the quote is, "Ownership by the state, that is ownership by the entire people, ownership by the cooperative, that is collective ownership by the working people, ownership by individual working people, and ownership of a few means of production by the capitalists." Land back. This was in the same chapter too. This was like the next page after what I read. Yeah, this was talking about how there's still at the present moment, there's like still, few means of production that's owned by the capitalists. And Ho Chi Minh is talking about how they have to aim to like get rid of that, eliminate forms like non-socialist ownership, that like everything belongs to the collective, right? Everything belongs to its people, that there is no like just owning things for yourself that doesn't benefit, all the people. Yeah, what did you think?
I like in this book how he just deepens certain things like a bunch of times, and the fact that like this also applies to like how he was always talking about like we haven't won until like everything involved with like capitalism and imperialism is gone out of our country. And so like if it's like even one person like with a capitalism, ownership in our country, we haven't won the battle against imperialism or colonialism. And just like
Yes.
deepening that, I'll just love how much he deepens that throughout the whole text. Yeah.
Right. He's like, we have to get rid of everything. He's like, we're doing really good right now, but the end goal is to rid ourselves of colonialism completely. And he recognizes, that takes time. That takes time after like, a century of being colonized and enslaved and genocide. It's going to take a lot longer for for the people to rid themselves of the colony, but that we have to but that is the end goal, right? Like not compromising on that. Thank you so much. Y'all are really showing out today with all these quotes.
A third read of that. Yeah.
Goji.
The Vietnamese people cherish peace, genuine peace and independence and freedom, not sham peace, not quote unquote American peace. To safeguard the independence of our fatherland, to fulfill our duties to all people struggling against U.S. imperialism, our people and army, united as one man and fearless of sacrifices and hardships, will resolutely fight on until they gain complete victory. And yeah, this, like we were talking about before, they haven't won until everything's gone, and just trusting that like the poor and working class people have a vested interest in completely decolonizing this nation and like completely ridding and like overcoming like all the symptoms that colonialism has created in their country. And just the amount of faith that he had in this movement is like it's inspirational. So yeah, I love this read that back.
Yes. Yes, I love it too, and especially where he says like, genuine peace, not sham peace, like American peace. Because you all remember like in the beginning when he was talking about the independence of Vietnam, he referenced the Declaration of Independence. I'm like, I've forgotten American history. What? Yeah, he references like this Western idea of like life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and he kind of upholds that, right? He's like, this is like sort of the goal that we're trying to work towards. And then he kind of has that realization later on. He's like, well, these colonizers, our enemies, our oppressors, have these like morals or whatever, like virtues that they're trying to uphold for for our people, and they're lies, they're facades.
Right.
But he was still kind of trying to like work towards like, he's like, oh, but like the principle of it is still like good, like like the foundation of it is still good. But then for him in this quote to be like, nah, like,
Yeah.
especially because at this point they're fighting against the Americans, that like there is no such a thing as like American peace. When has there ever been a peaceful time
Right. Like
in
the pursuit of
America?
happiness. The pursuit of happiness to me is just a movie by Will Smith. So like I don't I don't know nothing about that here.
Right, like how like ever in the history of so-called America has there ever been peace for everyone? Like American peace is not a thing that exists at all. We're like this country is constantly enslaving, genociding, bombing, killing everyone since the beginning until now. Like there is no such a thing as American peace. All of this is fake. Yes, the literal opposite of peace. Shams. Okay. Well, thank y'all for all those read that backs. I think if we have time later, we'll be reading the rest of them. But let's move on to your read that back, Jifanji.
Right. So this is from section 43. It's the Chinese Revolution and the Vietnamese Revolution. On the 1st of July, 1921, in a small town in the luxurious city of Shanghai, 12 revolutionaries, among whom was Comrade Mao Zedong, held a meeting and founded the Chinese Communist Party, which comprised 50 members and which now has a membership over 17 million. From then on, the destiny of China began to change. After 28 years of extremely heroic struggle under the leadership of the Communist Party, headed by Comrade Mao Zedong, the Liberation Army wiped out over 8 million U.S.-equipped Chiang Kai-shek troops and drove out the U.S. imperialists out of China, and the People's Republic of China was established in 1949. During 12 years of national construction, the Communist Party has led the 650 million Chinese people in selfless work emulation, turning China from a backward agricultural country, impoverished and illiterate, into a powerful socialist country. And yeah, I just love this because he says repeatedly he draws like inspiration from the struggles of Mao Zedong and the Communist Party of China, and the fact that they were able to, fight off that invasion, because he knows like they were looked at as like the most like daunting like enemy to the imperialists because of the vast amount of people, and the fact that it's inspirational to me in the fact that like they started with like 12 people in Shanghai and then turned into an entire, which now like we see now is like becoming like the biggest, which is probably already the biggest nation in the world, most powerful nation in the world. Just off the strength of those, it started from those 12 cadre people, and you know, it makes me think about how like Black Hammer started in like a trailer in South Carolina, and like how big it's grown already in just 2 years, and it's just this whole book is just inspirational to me, and like I keep saying that, but it really is just the fact that I see like they are doing the same things that we're doing, and they started from the same level that we started at, and yeah, so and the fact that they ridded their nation of like the imperialist or the imperialist backed regime, and like even the amount of destruction that like that entails. The people have to trust you to be able to rebuild, which is something that we talked about in the previous sections. Like, we're gonna do this. It's gonna involve some destruction, but we will build you something 10 times better. And I'm sure Shanghai, I don't know if you know, like what Shanghai is the biggest city in the world, I think. Like, I'm pretty sure it's the biggest city in the world now. And I think about it, it was like back then they built something 10 times greater than what that was then. And so just thinking about that gives me so much hope. So that's why I picked this, read that back. Land back.
Land back, full unity. Yeah, like a party that started with 12 people sitting in a room. And when they founded the party, it only had like 50 members, with the 12 founding members included. And to see, yeah, like you said, where it is now, I think they have about like 90 million people in the Communist Party of China. Like, to see all of that, and the struggles that they went through and the hardship that they went through. It took like what, like the 28 years, 28 years until they were able to, get victory and establish the People's Republic of China, and to fight and have a civil war, and fight against like Chiang Kai-shek, and then which was backed by the U.S., which had a lot more, so-called like weapons or resources than the CPC at the time. And they were able to be victorious. And just thinking about, yeah, like relating it back to our own organization and where we started, and to see how much we have grown in the past few years, and to think how much more we have to come. And yeah, it's really inspiring. And we have, right now we have more than 12 cadres. We have more than 50 active members. And to think that all the things we'll be able to accomplish this year, next 5 years, next 10 years, is amazing. And I can't wait. Like, I can't even, to be honest, I can't even imagine sometimes, because my expectation of like, about what we can accomplish is always exceeded, what I think, it's going to happen.
Right. And yeah, 28 years. Like, they always talk about, I feel like a lot of the times, like in like these white organizations, they'll be like, "Oh, we got to do this for the next generations. Like, we got to." It's like, no, I want to be free too. I want to like, I don't just. I want my kids to be free. Obviously, I don't have kids. When I do have kids, if I do, I want them to be free. But I want to be free too. I want to see that, and the fact that it was just 28 years, it gives me like hella faith in that we can do that, especially with our growth. So that's another thing I wanted to.
And that's what happened to Ho Chi Minh too, right? He joined when he first joined the French Communist Party. He was like 20 French communist, whatever that is. He was only like in his 20s. I think he was like 21 or 23 at the time. And to think, that he, spoiler alert, he dies at the end of the book. But he lived to see, a liberation within his lifetime for his people. Like, he was able to make it happen in his lifetime. He saw his people defeat the French. He saw, his people, be independent and have a liberated country. He didn't live to see, unification yet, but it did happen really shortly after his death. He made it happen within his lifetime. He wasn't going to give up.
Let me read this comment. This book gives me never mind. No, this book gives me so much optimism. We're gonna whoop the ass of all these hueless hooligans, and build something much more incredible than we could have ever imagined. Full unity, Comrade Frederico.
Yes, full unity. We're going to build something so much more incredible than what we even have imagined. Thank you so much. Well, right now, everyone, it's time to share again. Share. Y'all gotta share again, because we're about to go back into our fundraising call about building Hammer City. Yes, share again right now. If y'all don't got money to donate, that's okay. You can ask someone else to donate for you. You can ask, I'm sure y'all got a friend who owes you $5 from getting you food at some point. Ask for it back so you can donate it to build Hammer City.
And you could pledge for later.
Yeah, it's pledge when you get paid on the 5th or the 15th. It's okay. Y'all can pledge. I think there were donations in the comment before that we missed when we were talking about the book. But yes, share right now. Now is the time to share again. If you already donated, share. If you haven't donated, ask someone if they can help you. An extra $1. Ooh, we're at 68 so far, so we're really close to our goal. So keep donating. It's Build Hammer City. Cash App, Venmo, GoFundMe. Who's got another $5? Reparations. You could ask a colonizer in your life, a colonizer you went to like high school with that like definitely owes you more than $5. Text them now. If you still have them on your phone, just be like, "Yo, can I have $5?" and donate it. This is how they can also be forgiven for their sins, being beneficiaries. First, you get the $5, and then you sign them up for Reparation Corps.
5 from Frederico. Thank you.
Thank you, Comrade Frederico. Who's gonna match that $5?
Who else got 5?
Yes.
I saw Yabe came through earlier with the reparations money. I appreciate that.
Yes.
They getting that money from the colonizers.
Yes, and we don't got it. We know who has it. We know who has our $5 or $20. It's the colonizers. So ask them for reparations. Oh, we have another one in the comment. Yes, $5 from. Thank you so much. 777.
Oh, thank you. We lucky.
That's a good number. Yes.
Got another 5.
Another 5 on it. Thank
Y'all
you
coming
so
through
much.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much. Who's got another donation? Ask someone. Y'all, if you don't got money, you can ask. People will give you $5. Text your mom. Text your grandparent. Be like, "Good morning. Love you. Can I have $5?"
I haven't eaten today. that's the best of mine.
Yes. Grandma, haven't eaten today. I'm hungry. Can I have 15? Yes, yo. It's just any donation counts. If anyone got, $1, $2, $3, donate it to Build Hammer City. Because, well, I was gonna say you can't really get much with $1 these days. Maybe like something at McDonald's
in Arizona.
$1 money. But then you still got tax.
Yeah, that's 106.
Yeah. So you can't even buy an Arizona iced tea with $1. But you know what you can buy?
Your
a
liberation.
Piece of your liberation. You know what's better to spend that $1 on? Build Hammer City. On your future, on the future of all colonized people, on your liberation. That's what you should spend that $1 on. Because if you don't got an extra, I saw a comment where Laya said Arizona's are $1.50 here.
Oh, they playing you. They playing you.
Isn't the price like on the freaking can?
Like, what you mean? How is 150? I'll be pressed. That
Damn.
Like 106 is too much for me.
Doesn't it say like 99¢ or something on the
it's
can?
Like 99 cents.
And they're jacking it up to 150. See
how the colonizers do you, bro? Like, that's wow.
Yes. We would never do you like that. In Hammer City, I don't know. Arizona iced teas are free.
We're gonna have our own iced tea.
Yes, even better. Yes, who's got $5 for the people to donate or pledge?
And I'm gonna donate
Yeah.
$10 from myself just to boost the numbers.
I'll do it too. I will donate 15.
And that's my herb money, so y'all.
That was gonna be my money for my late night run to Popeyes.
They got Popeyes out there? Crazy.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
I just had it last night.
Hey,
So
Chief
$10 from Malcolm. Thank you
We
so
got
much.
here.
Malcolm, if you want to match your leadership, it's 15. It's not 10. 5 from Tending Far. Thank you so much. So
Tending Far
Malcolm,
got
I better see another $5 in the comment. Cool. Another 5 on it. Thank you so much. See, our comrades are showing out. Thank you so much. Okay, I guess we can move on to the next
20.
read that back. Okay, 20. Thank you so much, Malcolm. Thank you, Chief Malcolm. Appreciate you. I think it's your read that back again, Chief Anye.
Oh, okay. Let me get that pulled up, Chief Savvy. All right. The war of resistance against U.S. aggression may drag on. Our people may have to face new sacrifices of life and property. Whatever happens, we must keep firm our resolve to fight the U.S. aggressors until total victory. Our mountains, my bad. Our mountains will always be. Our rivers will always be. Our people will always be. The American invaders defeated, we will rebuild our land 10 times more beautiful. No matter what difficulties and hardships lie ahead, our people are sure of total victory. The U.S. imperialists will certainly have to quit. Our fatherland will certainly be reunified. Our fellow countrymen in the South and the North will certainly be reunited under the same roof. We, a small nation, will have entered the signal honor of defeating, through heroic struggle, two big imperialisms, the French and the Americans, and of making a worthy contribution to the world national liberation movement. Land back. I love this because he he didn't even know, like he wasn't even there for them running out the Americans, but he knew it was gonna happen, and like he knew because he had seen them fight the French. Saw them get out of there. He knew the ancestors fought. Like he knew, like just bringing in all the strength of his people, he knew that they would win, and fighting like two of the biggest imperial powers at the time, and just completely, and just knowing that like something like that will happen no matter like how daunting that task is, because that's like you realize through the book like it's a crazy daunting task of just getting those people out of here, like all the stakes that they have on the land, like the mentality that they've instilled in people over like a century of like colonization, and just completely ridden the country of that, and just speaking it into existence at the end of the day, just internalizing the fact that like we have a solid line, we have a solid means to like decolonize, and the fact that there's no way that this can fail, no matter if I'm around or not to see it. And yeah, and it is sad that like he didn't get to see that full victory, but I rest easy knowing that like he knew that, like the comment said, like their victory was inevitable. And yeah, again, like we were saying with going back to like what we said earlier about the Chinese Revolution, and even their own, like they did they destroyed like a lot of things got destroyed, and then built up like 10. He said 10 times, but like I look like it's even more than 10 times as beautiful. Like those cities in Vietnam are beautiful. Ho Chi Minh City, um, cities in the People's Republic of China are absolutely beautiful now. Just thinking of like what that's gonna look like for us, and knowing how beautiful our Hammer City is gonna be. So yeah, that's why I think.
Land back for unity, Chief Anye. And that, yeah, like, and Ho Chi Minh was so sure, so sure of the inevitability of their victory, and that his people were going to win, his people were going to be victorious because because he knew he did what he had to do with his life to make sure that the revolution continues, right? Like he was building up millions and millions of cadre. He was constantly, winning them and winning, millions and millions of people, the masses, to the political line to dedicate their lives to the revolution. He was constantly, criticizing people and making sure um, that the revolutionaries they had in that country is what the people deserve. Like the people deserves liberation. He had to make sure that everyone was at their best and that they were cadres and they were revolutionaries and they were going to continue the fight. Like he had no doubt. He had no doubt that his people were going to continue if he was or wasn't alive. He knew that he has done enough for the liberation. He has done enough for his people to make sure that it continues on, and that it continues on, decades and centuries, decades and centuries to come after his death. He's like, I have sowed, that sort of revolutionary and like liberation into my people, and they will continue to fight for it. And right after his death, um, and the country was able to reunite as one, North and South Vietnam, and the fall of Saigon. It's not a fall. It's a reunification of the people that they named the city after him, right?
Right.
They named the city after him because he and his party was the one that made it possible for their people to reunify, to have a liberated country, like from the north to the south. And he knew it was going to happen. There was no doubt in his mind, and that's
And
what we're. Sorry. Go.
yeah, and he knew like that the victory that they were about to have. First of all, he didn't even like he just knew it was gonna happen. And he knew that that victory would inspire like the liberation of people like onward. And it's true because we're reading it right now, so it's definitely true. And I'm very happy that we have this example, like this historical example of you know someone actually doing it and like doing the same thing that we're trying to do. And I'm glad he was able to not only do it but transcribe it so beautifully in this text. So very thankful for that.
Yes. And he was inspired, like he was inspired by colonized people before him that was fighting for their liberation, and sort of this, recognizing that we're part of this history and this continuation of like colonized people fighting for their liberation, and that we are going to be, and what we can do, what we can learn from our revolutionary ancestors is how we can be better, like that our goals have to be bigger than theirs, and that's what they would have wanted. Like, and like I think Ho Chi Minh wants a world, free from colonialism, where no one lives at the expense of another. Um, he was just able to dedicate his lifetime to making sure that happens, in his nation. But if you remember from the beginning, even from his early ages of like, being radicalized, becoming a revolutionary, he constantly talked about how colonialism was so rampant, right? Like how colonized nations all around the world share the same material condition from colonialism. And he was constantly, in his early writings talking about the conditions in Africa, in the so-called like Pacific Islands, and other parts of Asia. Like he recognized, that people all around the world are suffering under colonialism, and I think he would have wanted, he would have wanted something like Black Hammer, something where they were fighting for liberation and freedom for all colonized people around the world, and that's what we're here to do. That's what we're here to do. We want to learn from our ancestors, but we also want to be better. We want to make sure that we are a continuation of history, that we don't stop. Um, we don't stop, too short. That we don't dream too small. We want colonized people to be liberated all around the world. We want everyone to be free, and that no one lives at the expense of another. So I'll move on to my read that back because it's on the same page. It's actually the last two paragraphs. I thought it was kind of it was I thought it was a good way to end this by reading the last two paragraphs and to hear his last words on this earth, and sort of what he was dreaming of. So yes, it's page 216 in the book. And so much from Savvy. Yeah, it starts about personal matters. It says, "All my life I have served the fatherland, the revolution, the people with all my heart and strength. If I should now depart from this world, I would have nothing to regret except not being able to serve longer and more. When I'm gone, a grand funeral should be avoided in order to not waste the people's time and money. Finally, to the whole people, the whole party, the whole army, to my nephews and nieces, the youth and children, I leave my boundless love. I also convey my cordial greetings to our comrades and friends and to the youth and children throughout the world. My ultimate wish is that our entire party and people, closely joining their effort, will build a peaceful, reunified, independent, democratic, and prosperous Vietnam and will make a worthy contribution to the world revolution." Land back. Um, I almost cried a little bit reading this because it was just so like to see that in his last moment at the end of his life that this is still that this is who he is, this is what he felt, that like he felt still that he, even after dedicating his entire life to revolution and liberation, as I talked about like 2 episodes ago, like he didn't even have like his own family, right? He forgoed any of his own sort of like individual needs for the liberation and for colonized people. Um, and he still felt like he wasn't doing enough, and that he was like, my wish is that I was to be able to serving longer and even more for my people. And he's like, don't even have a funeral for me. I don't want to waste the people's money. I don't want to waste the people's time. And just that what he was leaving behind for his people was just, it's like, I hope I have left y'all, this love that was talking about, really, like the love and the sort of drive, the motivation to continue on fighting for a reunified, for a liberated Vietnam. And just to see that, just to hear that these were some of his last words, was for his people to be free. Um, yeah, and Chiboju's comment. I remember we read last week about like thrifting. He was talking like Ho Chi Minh talks a lot about like saving money and saving resources because he knew how hard his people have to work for every single dollar, for every single every single little thing that they had. That the people work for, the people put their heart and soul and blood and sweat into it. And he's like, I don't want y'all to mourn my death and put on this big funeral for me. Like that resource could be better saved for something else, just to see how selfless he was. It's just such an inspiration for all of us about like what it really means to dedicate your life to revolution. What does it really mean to be a servant of the people? Yeah, what did you think, Jay?
So, oh, they muted. They didn't want me to talk. But I just love how he was dedicated, till the very end of his life of just liberating his people. He's like, I wish I could live longer just so I can keep this movement going. And in that sense, it's kind of it's so sad to me that he couldn't see the full scope of it, even though again like he predicted it. And yeah, just it's I find myself trying to internalize that like you got to be that way through and through, like in every aspect of your life. And like you know it's not about like recognition, it's about getting the task done, and that the huge task of decolonization done. And it has nothing to do with you. I don't know if they listen. I don't know what kind of celebration they have had for him, but I need to look into that. I'm sure I don't know if they listen to him or not, because if I feel like it might have been hard for them to like not do it because it's just because of who he was. And we see like they named their the capital city after him. So, but yeah, just the fact that he just didn't want anything extravagant. The only thing he wanted was just his people to be free and them to have like all their land, labor, and resources like under their own, like in their own control. And that's the part that I'm internalizing from it. Just be that way till the very end, and just keep those goals in mind. And I think a lot of the times we see like when we see like some people from the past, they'll end up like selling out for their own interest, and like so they can have a comfortable life or their family can have a comfortable life. But Uncle Ho didn't do that. Like he was that way till the very end, and just yeah, I feel the same way. Like I feel the need to just like dedicate my life to this task that we've taken on as an organization. So, land back.
Yes, land back. Yeah, I don't know if they had one. I feel like they probably did. 'Cause when you see these revolutionary leaders pass away, like the people, the whole country, the whole nation mourns, right? Mourns their loss. So I'm sure they probably did have something for him. And I think them naming, renaming Saigon rightfully so to Ho Chi Minh City was was so fitting. Was so fitting for what he was trying to fight for. Like that's what he wanted. He wanted, he wanted his nation to be unified, to be prosperous, and they renamed, the capital of their nation after him, rightfully so, and what he deserves. And actually hate it. Actually hate it when I see places that are still named Saigon. There's a lot of like Vietnamese restaurants here.
Oh,
That's
like
still
Saigon Palace or something like that.
yeah, or like yeah. And imperialists still call it Saigon because they refuse to recognize, that like our people that colonized people won, that they're victor, and then y'all still want to call it the name that it isn't anymore because you refuse to, you refuse to recognize that. But yes, yeah, being a revolutionary is a forever thing. It's a lifetime. It's a lifetime commitment. It's a lifetime struggle, and we can only, yeah, talk about this like they still call it Saigon. Yeah, we can only
Really?
hope that.
I didn't know people still called it Saigon. I heard it in like movies. They say Saigon, but
yeah,
I do see like restaurants. Now I'm thinking
disrespectful.
about it. Now I'm thinking about it. I do see like Vietnamese restaurants with like Saigon's whatever. Never thought about it. Like,
Right, like they, well, um, a lot of those, yeah, a lot of the people still kind of hold on to this view of like Saigon is still. They were sellouts. They didn't want liberation for their people.
and then yeah, and like I try to remember that like a lot of the people that came from like the people that are coming from like China, Vietnam that fled during that time are like those are the bourgeoisie of those countries. Not all of them, obviously, but like a lot of them are. So yeah, they might not recognize it as so.
Right. Yeah, a lot of there's a comment that says that yeah, a lot of people who own those restaurants using that name left Saigon at the end of the revolution. And really, that goes back to our principle of unity number 3, right? Like that there is going to be neo-colonial sellouts in our nations, but guess what? The Vietnamese people still won. They are still liberated, and the neo-colonial puppets, now live in the imperial core. And I'm like, is that really so much? How is that in any way better than being liberated with your people? How is that, having a business in the freaking belly of the beast in the United Snakes? How's that better than not being colonized? How is that better? So like really selling out of your people never gets you anything that's better than liberation. It's not worth it. Don't
Right,
sell out your
you're
own
finding
people.
yourself now just trying to fit in. You're facing hella like you're coming from Vietnam, where like in America, like people have, at the time, I'm sure like it is now a lot of heightened anti Asian racism. So you're just like willingly like going into the imperial court to face that with the off chance that you might make it or might quote unquote make it and amass like a large amount of like US dollars, which at the end of the day doesn't help you or your people. Like, and now you're completely disconnected from your land. Like, and so yeah.
Doesn't make any sense. But before we go, I kind of want to read that back from earlier that we weren't able to get to because y'all left so many today. Thank you so much. I know I'm really gonna miss this book. Okay, I'll read this one. It says, Read that back, page 180. Our people have been cruelly exploited and oppressed by the French colonialists for nearly 80 years. In the beginning of the Patriotic War, some units of our army were only armed with bamboo sticks, but we were tempered by 9 years of resistance. Our people united into an iron-like block. Our regular units, regional detachment, and people's militia has expanded into an army of heroes determined to fight and win. Land back. Thank you so much for that. Read that back. To see how victorious they were able to be. They said their army started out with just bamboo sticks.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. They didn't have, the weapons, the technology that the French has from colonizing the freaking entire world and the resources that they were able to gain, and to see that the people were able to be victorious. It's all about, it's not just about, like superior weapons or superior, training as an army. He was able to be strategic and gain that from fighting this protracted war. But to see that the people are able to be victorious to start from so little, it's all about the masses of people, how many people you have won to your side, and how how united y'all are to each other. And that's why they're able to win. It's a people's war. And the people started out with so little, and just to see how much they have gained, it's completely just an inspiration to all of us.
Yeah, like you keep saying, he deepens, these particular like points so many times throughout the book, and this point that like it can start. It don't matter how small it starts. Like if you're organized and like you have that unwavering will to be free and like love for your people, like you can amass like anything. Like you can do anything. Like the fact they started with bamboo sticks reminds me of like our baseball bats. If you know, you know. So yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much for that. Read that back. Let's do another one. You can read it, Chief Anje.
This from Chief Segun. Page 178. At the beginning, for almost 15 years, our party had to work underground. It faced a ceaseless and savage persecution by the French colonialists. The jails of Paulo Condor, Lao Bao, and Son La were filled with communists. Many party cadres and members died the death of the brave in the struggle. But we firmly believed in the ultimate victory of the party and the revolution, and our ranks continued to grow and gain in strength. Even, I guess as you're saying, even through such harsh repression, they, I don't know if I can get the rest of it, but
I think the
yeah,
rest of us said they steel themselves and struggled to victory.
yeah, but yeah, it's tough, like having, what am I trying to say, like that's hard, like being placed in like this jail or this prison or this camp and still knowing that at the end of the day it's all worth it, because like without the sacrifice that you're making at the moment, like your people aren't going to be free, and like the sacrifice you're making with like your life basically is going to benefit like your people in the end. And like i'd rather be, I'd rather suffer right now than to like suffer the rest of my life, or like have my people suffer on for like centuries. And yeah, just the fact that they were all able to internalize that and just keep being like brave and like keeping that in their head just to keep them going. Because a lot, like if you get you know locked up and you don't have anything to look forward to, it's not possible to get through that time like and stay sane. And the fact that they kept that faith and like they were they were strong. And I know like even when the Americans came in, it's just like stories I know from the Vietnam War, they would like capture like Vietnamese soldiers, and they rarely, there's rats, but like most of them, they would never say anything to sell out the people. Like they rather die than like give up the location. And just the fact that they were able to get their entire force to internalize that is again, using this word, inspirational.
Land back. Yeah. Full unity with this quote and your analysis, like just how much the people and like the comrades and the revolutionaries believed, believed in what they were fighting for. They were willing to die for it. They were willing to struggle for it. And that's what the theme of this book that talks so much about was like, this was hard, the decades and decades of fighting, the repression, the deaths, the wars was difficult, was really, really, really hard, on the Vietnamese people, but they persevere, they pushed through, they believed in what they were fighting for so much that it didn't matter. Like the sacrifices they were making was so was big, but in the grand scheme of things, to them it was so small compared to what they were fighting for and that what they were going to get at the end. That victory was so much more important to them than than the sacrifices they had to make, than the people that they had to lose. And it's just like an inspiration to all of us here in Black Hammer.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to wrap it up because we got to go to announcements, and I know today a lot of our comrades got to head out to do their vigils, so we'll wrap it up, and so we can all get ready to vigil and serve our people. So announcements, reparations corps. If y'all got any colonizers in your life who would like a way to redeem their humanity, to fight, to be on the right side of history, to fight for the liberation of colonized, poor and working class colonized people, and to fall under a leadership, this is how they can participate. They just have to sign up at blackhammer.org/reparations. It's a weekly 2-hour class on Sundays, so today, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern. This class just starts at $25, which is very, it's really cheap, and it scales up depending on their income. Pay your reparation. If you got anyone in your life who would like to no longer have colonialism, the stain of colonialism in their names being done under their name, this is their way. This is their way for them to redeem that. Super easy. blackhammer.org/reparations. Ooh. And we have the book for next month. As you all know, this is our last one. We have our surprise guest, surprise appearance of our new hosts. I'll hand it over to them. Land back.
Land back. I'm Chief Pat. I represent the colonized nation of Trinidad by way of Africa. I use she, her pronouns. And I'm really excited to be hosting the next book trap. It's going to be Medical Apartheid by Harriet Washington, which is such like a powerful book about the experimentation of Western medicine on African and colonized people, like here, like in the West.
Land back. My name is Chief Adesina, and I'm going to be co-hosting that with Chief Pat. I'm really excited to get into this text, start discussing medical apartheid and really how it applies today as we're seeing the medical system here in the United States falling apart during this pandemic. Land back.
Land back. I'm really excited for this new book. So y'all tune back in next week with our new host and our new book. Chief Anye, do you have any closing words for the people?
Nah, but we raised $175, over $175. So thank you all for your donations.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone. We're gonna miss y'all. Let's all say land back.
Land back.
And land back.
Land back.